today I'm going to look at what you carry in your bag, whether it's a small bag that you use for competition or the bag that you have with you that is your general supply bag. We'll look first of all at the small bag, the one that I use for competition. This is, as you can see, two compartments, and one is clearly marked so that I recognise that that's the side that only contains one thing. And on that side, all I have is my towel, that is one of those quick dry, the very thin microfiber type ones. And you can see blood, so it's obviously been used, it's not just here for show. So this is my towel, and obviously the backbone of any design work, floral adhesive, turn it the right way around for the camera, cold glue, and I also have in here super glue, which, as you can also see, has been used. Now I use the gel because because it's thicker, I can actually see what I'm doing with it, rather than the liquid one, which sort of runs away and you can't always see where it's gone and you end up with your fingers stuck together. So just in that side, that is marked clearly for me, so I don't waste time opening both sides to find the glue when I need it. That side has the glue and it's marked just with a key ring. Easy to do. And I keep the cold glue wrapped up like that because, as you would know if you've used it at any stage, it's really easy to break the container and to have cold glue go everywhere. I don't know where that is. On the other side, I have the things that I know that I will need as a basic tool requirement when I'm in a competition. Now, if we look at, say, the World Championships, you have 6 hours to put your design together. Now, you've had up to 12 months to prepare this design beforehand, and even though in that 6 hours you do have to prepare everything that is part of your design, you can't take in anything that's pre-prepared, or you shouldn't take in anything that's pre-prepared, because you will lose marks if the stewards know that it's been pre-prepared beforehand and they tell the judges. So 6 hours, you've practiced it for up to 12 months, so really you know what you need. You don't have to carry your full-size bag for the in-case scenarios. You have a few things where you can adjust your design if things don't work out the way, or you break the components, or whatever else it is. So the in-case scenario. So in here I have wire cutters, which I can also use as pliers if I'm fairly careful about them. Double-sided tape, so that's the very thin film type tape. The orange is just the outside cover, so that peels off and you just get this really thin layer of clear double-sided adhesive. Pot tape, stem tape, so that's the plastic coated one, not the paper coated one. Plastic coated one will give me a better indication of how to, when I want to stick down things that are proving a bit fiddly, and the paper can sometimes just get too wet, and I'm not as adept with the paper as I am with the pot tape. Fishing line, always useful for the invisible hold and tie up of anything that is in your design that needs that kind of support. A good sharp knife. This is a fruit knife. Now, in all of the things that I've collected over the years, I don't necessarily go for items that are designed for florists. I find tools that are useful, that I can work with, and I'll talk in a separate video about how you choose the right tools for you in terms of what you can manage with your hands, so that you're not trying to adjust what you're doing for tools that are working against you rather than for you. Good pair of scissors. These are a nice sharp pair of scissors. Now, again, these are they're pretty dirty. They're not designed for florists to use. They are a craft scissor, because I find that they stay sharper. And maybe that's just the way I use it, and sometimes, as those of you who have worked with both pliers and scissors will know, we use them for all. We're supposed to have the ribbon scissors and the wire cutters and all the rest, but in the heat of the moment when you're competing, you just pick whatever tool is closest at hand that will do the cutting task and use those. So craft scissors suit me better. So that's the paper covered tape. I will use it at a pinch when I need to, so I carry it with me. Sometimes it's good for camouflage where the pot tape's probably a little bit too shiny. That's the cover off the series. You see how carefully I look after all my tools. Just trying to reach into the bigger things. Tape measure. Always, always, always have a tape measure with you. Now this one actually belongs to both bags, and it's in this particular bag because I at the moment carry this bag with me for competitions rather than the big bag. But normally it would sit in a compartment on its own in the big bag so that I know exactly where it is and I can grab it when I need it. But you always should have a tape measure with you because you need to always ensure that your design is within the sizing that's been allowed for, if it's on the bench, even if it's on some other kind of staging, that it's always within the size limitations, because the first thing that the stewards do before they hand over to the judges is they measure every single exhibit, and particularly if these are exhibits that are size restricted like miniatures or petites, then you must ensure that your design fits within that size parameter. And the other thing that you can do for the miniatures and the petites, make yourself a little cardboard box so that fits over your design, so you'll know you're within the size limitations. And I'll show you that in a separate video. But always tape measure, always tape measure. And a nice easy one that you can manage, and one that will extend out, because in some cases, if you're doing a floor design, you might have a measure and a half space wise, so you don't want something that's just one of those little toy ones that are too thin for you to read. Remember that you need easy, quick access to everything. Don't put yourself under extra pressure by trying to have to read something that's too small for you at the time. So wires now. Now this is a very thin gauge wire that I use for wiring up stems that won't go into the foam or won't stand properly, just to give them a bit of added support. And stub wire, so for the stub things where I need a little bit more strength and stability. So just a few handy lengths of those things. Skewer, bamboo skewer, again, it's for support. The beauty of skewers and of toothpicks, and there are toothpicks in here as well, is that when you put them into a stem and then use it in your design, the water still gets taken up to the plant material. So they're a great thing to use for supports within your design where you've got material that it won't support itself, because the water will still travel up through that timber and into the plant material, so keep it nice and fresh. Peg, which I've just broken, so I have to replace. The pegs are good for when you're gluing things and you need to just hold something in place before it's in its final spot. Cable ties, my second best friend. 2 different lengths and a couple of colours. The yellow is probably the yellow I would use where I'm holding things in place before I wire them into a structural design, not necessarily as a feature. And the clear ones or the white ones I use more as where they're going to remain in the design. This is a plastic vial that's had a bit of stub wire attached to it so that I could actually hold it into a design. So just a couple of those little vials for water sources within your design. Now you can see how much, although I can carry in this little bag that's going to help me. So another of the plastic vials and a bit of decorative wire in case I need that. A second roll of paper tape. We'll hide that over here. These are ordinary steel pins, and again those will be used just to hold things into place within the design. Bit of decorative beading in case I need a feature somewhere in the design. Now this is a candle cup used within floral arrangements, but you can either put water in it or you could put a bit of floral foam in it to hold individual flowers into a design, or candles for that matter. A roll of decorative wire. Now this is the gold, because the gold is probably the most useful across all designs. Bit of paper covered wire. Again, not big amounts, but just amounts that I know. This is a crayon, because one of my other favourite little toys at the moment is my handy burner. So this is a flame burner. It's run on a cigarette lighter that's refillable, and it just gives you a nice quick flame and you could use it to cauterize the ends of your plant material, or to melt. What I use it for is to melt the crayons into a design, so it gives it a little bit of a different texture, a different look. And you could use it on wax as well. Obviously, if you can use it on the crayons, you can use it on wax. So it's just a matter of starting it like that. Runs for a little bit of time and then let it cool. But it's good. Again, it's a trade version rather than a florist one. Just from the local hardware house. An eraser. These are the white drawing type erasers. Really good for taking marks off baseboards and just generally. Another of the plastic. Now we're getting to the bottom of the bag. Like the bottom of any bag, there's just a mix of things that I've put in at times and just thrown there in case I need them. So mostly it's wires. So there you can see a stub wire that's been bent in half to support something. A couple of those different the toothpicks, which we've talked about. Some more lengths of stub wire. This is a mossing pin. Now you can buy them obviously and use them that way, and it's used to when you've got material that you're covering the base of a design with, and you just push that in so that the material doesn't have to fit into whatever you're using as your water source, so foam or those sorts of things. You can make them out of ordinary wire. You don't necessarily have to have these, but I've got one there at the moment. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's beautiful. Wire. I'm going to show you this in a minute, so I'll just keep it in my hand. Make sure I've got everything out of the bag. So there's pins, there's a tiny glass vial. I'll go back because I want that in a minute. These again are this is a glass one, so you will find in designs that judges predominantly will allow you in a contemporary design to have a glass vial that is uncovered, but a plastic vial they will expect to be covered. So you cover it with either something that's some foliage material or something that works in the design as well. You see, I'm just hiding things in my other hands because I want to show you those all at once. And just another decorative head pin that you might be able to use. So that's all there is in that side of it, but quite a lot, and certainly enough to, and there's another bit of the crayon, certainly enough to keep me going with a design if I had something that didn't work. And this is all about the mechanics. It's not about adding something else to the design. It's not about the just in case. It's about making sure that you can get your design together if something doesn't work, because you will have practiced it and prepared beforehand. Now what I've got in here are some swivels, and this one, let's see, so that you can actually see. So this one is from a lanyard where you have your name tags, and there's a story attached to it. And this one, I think, it's from the bottom of the bag. But, you know, obviously that's going to be a nice, stronger, heavier one for something that perhaps was hanging. And this is a fishing sinker. Again, full weight. It's actually got the fishing line on it already, and they're good for where you've got something underwater and you want to weigh it down so that it stays in the water itself. So again, things that are out of the normal floral or florist range that come into being that you need as tools. Now the story about the swivels. At the 2014 World Flower Show in Dublin, the World Championships, and these are ones that are held once every 3 years, I was in a class called Perpetual Motion, and we were not allowed to have mechanical means of moving the designs, and so the design had to imply movement or use the air for movement. And so I had a wind spinner. I had designed a wind spinner that hung out of the tree, because this was something that was just over 2 meters tall, and 1.2 metres in diameter, judged all around. So it had to be something that looked different from every angle but worked in that circular situation. So wind spinner, got to, practiced it, laid it out the night before, looked at everything, made sure everything was there, measured it all up, packed it all so I knew the process of putting the design together. Got to the competition room, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you've got till midday to put the design together. Get the structure up, get the tree up that the wind spinner is going to hang in, get the base done, put the wind spinner itself together, go to put it on the tree. What am I going to hang it with? What's actually going to make this, give it free movement in the tree? And I had not brought this, which is what I was going to use. For whatever reason, it was not in the bag. I think maybe that I took it out when I was laying out the spinner itself, and then in the excitement of packing everything else back in, this just got left behind. So what we did have was lanyards that had our entry details so that we could get into the competition, and so I took it apart, and that's what this is, and this will always travel with me because it just reminds me to absolutely double check, triple check what I've got in my bag. But in that instance, and this is part of the excitement and for me the challenge of competition is that you are so often presented with a situation where you have to think on your feet. It doesn't matter how much time you've put into getting something together, it never quite works out, for me anyway, it never quite works out on the day. And I've been doing this for a long, long time, and there are people I know who've been doing it for longer and who will say the same thing, is that you need to be adaptable, you need to be thinking in the moment and to just adjust things slightly, or to think outside the square of the design to work out what you can use. So I used this, took my lanyard apart, just kept it pinned to me until I could fix it the next day, and that's my very favourite swivel because it has so much meaning. There you go. So that's what we've got in our small bag, and we might put that to one side so then you can see it or not, because I'm going to need all of this room for the big bag.